Welcome to Marketing Decoded, the podcast where we unravel the mysteries of marketing for busy business owners. Here are your hosts, Daniel Kodum and Jackie Strack.
Good day, everyone. This is Daniel with D-Kode Technology here for another episode of Marketing Decoded with my cohort,
Jackie Strack.
So today it's middle of March 2025, and normally I don't go into dates and stuff, but it's significant because 2 months ago, regardless of your political spectrum, we did get a new president, and with that has brought a lot of uncertainty, not because of anything direct, but indirect. There's a lot of confusion and unknowing out there right now, which is impacting a common index called the Consumer Confidence Index. And I thought it would be good to talk about how that impacts your marketing, how that impacts your business, and kind of trends we are seeing within our client base. Jackie, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, sure. We've seen from our side in the marketing world that kind of across the board, clients are seeing less traffic, they're seeing fewer conversions, fewer sales, and that's basically because, just like you were saying, Daniel, the climate in America right now is such that people are feeling a bit on edge and they are less apt to want to go out and buy something. They want to do the safer thing and just make do with what they have.
So a lot of times people will say, well, I appreciate the fact that our current administration is a disruptor and it can help have impact, etc. And there's good and bad. I'm not going to go down the political angle here, but what that's causing is that people don't know what's coming next. From tariffs being proposed for our neighbors, from the war across the world where it's unsure where it's heading, peace, more war, collusion. There's a lot of arguments to be made, but people just aren't seeing that light at the end of the tunnel. A common thing I'm telling clients these days is, look, it's okay to have these challenges thrown, but there needs to be a couple pieces of good news coming up. Could be we might get a ceasefire in Ukraine. Could be we get some tax cuts that get approved by Congress. Something that says, hey, all this uncertainty and chaos is worth it. And I'm sure it will come. We don't know when. Could be a week from now. Could be a month from now. But until that happens, the world is going to kind of be at a standstill, especially in the U.S. I'm going to go back 5 years ago to another cataclysmic event that was a much bigger significance, and that was COVID. COVID saw the stock market tank over a very short period because there was a lot of uncertainty. Consumers weren't sure. But within a few short months, while businesses were struggling, there were opportunities for certain types of businesses. So as a result, the stock market came back roaring and the economy kept on moving. It's going to stabilize. That is the one certainty in all this uncertainty. If you are a business owner, you're going to have to ride the wave because it is something that it's not going to be something that's going to last forever. There will be a light coming at the end of the tunnel, but it may not be overnight. It may not even be in a month, but it will happen in the near future. And you have to just be able to ride it. And there's ways that we can ride it out. Now, before we go into solutions, I do want to touch on one other point. The current environment is having different impact for businesses based on two key factors. One is the cost of their service or goods. The higher it is, the harder it is for them to thrive in this environment because big ticket purchases are struggling. The other is if you are into a B2B or B2C space. For those who don't know, B2B is business to business. B2C is business to consumer. If you are a B2B business, you are struggling more than a B2C because B2B businesses are dealing with business owners who are also struggling to attract business to themselves. So they're not ready to purchase stuff unless it's a necessity for their own business. B2C is seeing some of the same traffic, maybe slightly lower, but then people may not be pulling the trigger to start bigger ticket projects. They may be holding off. They may be doing small tinkering, repairs, or adjustments rather than continuing to try to accomplish that dream remodel or to completely reface a roof or to do something that requires a lot of work. They'll just Band-Aid it for now until they're sure that everything else is okay. And in fact, a lot of people are just waiting to see, all right, maybe I'll wait a few weeks, see what happens before I make a decision. We had a recent uh, individual who's looking to start a retail business, and they were all gung go in January. And they're now rethinking whether they want to hold off or continue with opening their new retail establishment because of the concerns sitting out there. So that brings us to, well, what do you do in this time frame? It's uncharted territory for most business owners because they don't know what they don't know. They turn to their marketing people like us. They turn to their colleagues to ask, hey, what can I do? And the frustrations are real. So Jackie, what do you recommend?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind for me is think about your analytics a little bit differently. Basically, since across the board we're seeing dips, we're seeing a reduction in traffic, all that stuff, our usual recommendation to business owners is to really look at your analytics, look year over year, and use that as a metric to figure out if you have to pivot or if you have to do something different. But because of what's happening right now, you kind of have to look at your analytics in the context of the fact that they're going to be lower overall. So they can't be as much of an indication that what you're doing is necessarily wrong. It might be that you just have to keep going the way that you're going and wait for things to get better. But at the same time, I think it's important to pivot where you can. So if you see an opening in the current landscape that we're in, it's important to notice where that is and try to pivot towards it in a way that lets you take some market share where it's available.
I agree with you on that. I'm going to take it a step further. A lot of times when business is good, we often cut corners. We often don't do the stuff we should be doing. This is a great opportunity, and I saw it happen during COVID timeframe when people had to go in and they weren't sure when the next piece of business was coming in. This is the time to tighten up and really hone in on the stuff you haven't been doing. If your website's out of date, bring your website up to speed because you have the time and bandwidth. And if your website's older than 4 years old, it may be time to, if not a complete refresh, to at least update it. More on the marketing side of things, look at what you've been doing. The number one thing I see people forget to do is upload their recent work. Get those recent works, get those pictures. The other and really important, probably if not the most important, one of the top three, you will still get leads. They may not close as quickly. Do not give up on leads as quick as you used to. And keep in touch with them. Make sure after each conversation, hey, when's a good time to follow up? Because if someone's not looking or unsure right now, they may just be looking for that edge, that little bit that pushes them over it. And if you forget to follow up, they're just going to go back and look online again and look for the next company. But if you have them and you're checking with them regularly, that will give you the opportunity to look for things. The last point is look at alternative marketing options too. This is a great time to experiment. If you don't do any social media ads and yours is a business that could potentially benefit and you've always wanted to try it. It doesn't hurt. Right now is a great time to experiment. Now, people will tell me, well, money's tight. I don't want to spend a lot of money. I understand that. And I'm not recommending for anyone to spend more than they currently are. But you can't sit on your laurels doing the same thing and expecting a different result. And sometimes there are things outside the control. And I'll use an example. I have a client who does Google local ads. If you ever do a search and you see up at the top, it shows Google recommends these and it has a Google guarantee badge. These are people who pay to get leads from Google. They saw a month over month drop of over 50%. And when talking to Google, they're still ranked in the top as far as rankings, but there's an overall lower demand. So you can either A, keep wishing someone comes to that. You already ranked one, so it's not as if you're going to do anything more. B, you can sit there and complain about it. That's not going to solve anything. C, you can do something about it. Like we talked to this person about, maybe try door hangers within areas. Maybe try using your local chambers of commerce. Maybe try to button up those directory listings you've been holding off on. There's a lot of opportunity out there, and there's a lot of stuff you may or may not have been doing. And get comfortable, at least in the very short term, to potentially have a bit lower leads. But those leads will start coming back as soon as there's some degree of confidence, which will happen in the near future. Jackie, you want to add anything to what I was saying?
Yeah, I think kind of in alignment with what you're saying, Daniel, about finding new opportunities with your marketing. One thing that we noticed in COVID that's similar to now is that really everyone mostly is in the same boat. So people are all struggling. People are all looking for a light at the end of the tunnel. And if your business can add value in a new way for people and offer something that's kind of uplifting, something that brings the community together, that might be a good way to eventually get more leads because you're engendering trust. If you're a coffee shop, maybe have some kind of community night. If you're a bookstore, maybe try to, again, have some kind of like event so that people can come and get to know your business. It offers them value in a new way, and it increases that sense of trust that you have with your customers.
Yeah, it all comes down to brand awareness. People always tell me, well, how do I lower my cost per lead? Well, if you're solely relying on ads, you're always going to have a higher cost of lead. You need to build your brand in your area, especially if you're a local business, and you need to sit there and utilize SEO, GEO tactics to get rankings higher. If you're only doing situations where you are just doing ads, you're at the behest of what Google, Yelp, and all these large entities are able to provide you. And they often are not going to be consistent, especially in times of turmoil like it is right now. So I'm going to give business owners a small checklist to kind of go through to address things. Number one, look to make sure all your I's are dotted, T's are crossed right now in any form of marketing you're doing, whether it's in the online space or traditional space. Number two, look at what can you do to increase brand awareness, events, chambers, other things. Number three, use this time to clean up any loose ends. If you need a new website, you need to create a white paper, etc. And number four, be willing to experiment on new avenues, whether it's reshuffling your budget or looking at ways to enhance it through free opportunities. If you do these, I think you will see that you can ride out this short-term storm and come back on the other side much stronger as a business and your online presence. I hope everyone enjoyed this episode of Marketing Decoded. Till next time, take care.
Thank you for listening. Please be sure to follow us on your favorite podcast player. To sign up for your own free assessment, visit www.decodetech.com/free-fitness-assessment.